So I don't know why.
Well, we're both named Rosie, so that's kind of, it's a lot of people in this country, that's all.
Well, that brings me to my next point, and then I want to get into GMOs with you, and we'll let you go and hopefully have you back up because I know you're a busy person. But you just hit the nail on the head there. Half the people in the airport or whatever think that you're Rosie O'Donnell, not Roseanne Barr. So I understand a lot of this is satire. But I don't. But
you know what? Satire. Satire just offers people a different and deeper way to look at things. So it's not like baseless. The things I'm saying are not baseless, even though there's a satirical edge to it, of course. But I mean, these are real things that we really need to look at about a different set of justice for the American people and for bankers. We really need to look at that.
Yeah, but here's what I want to tell you. The bankers, if you read Tragedy and Hope, written for the CIA in the 60s, they actually use a form of collectivism to get us dependent and to destroy the middle class so that they can control us. Just like you during the break, you were saying the key is the breadbasket, getting people back on the land, farmers. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Everything these bankers do in their New World Order is about making us dependent. That's what Monsanto is about, where your seeds won't generate new seeds. So
absolutely. That's why I moved to Hawaii, where I have a farm now, because that is ground zero of, the University of Hawaii is ground zero for experiments by Monsanto on alfalfa and other things that actually destroy native crops. It is just so horrifying. So horrible that they would be feeding the American people plastic, and we don't even have a choice. And they're arresting people for growing vegetables. And this is not a joke. They're arresting people for growing heirloom seeds and vegetables, nutritious food in the United States of America. Are you kidding me? This is definitely the time that we need to look at who is in charge of what, and get rid of all of the people in Congress and all of government who do not serve the American people. So in that we totally agree, right, Alex?
Yes, we do agree, and the tyranny is just getting crazier and crazier.
It's completely insane. Completely insane. These people are sociopaths. They're just, I can't even believe, like you, I can't believe how they have slipped into positions of power where, they're feeding us, I'm serious, they're feeding our kids plastic junk. They're trying to turn us into cyborgs or something.
No, they are.
I don't know.
Wow, you just hit it. The globalists, the social engineers admit they want us so poisoned, just like Monsanto wants to infect all the major crops so that you don't have a choice anymore. And then you've got to have scientists come in and, quote, fix things with their patents for the life cycle, just like they have the chemtrails doing weather modification and in Hawaii and other areas, aluminum's going off the chart. Monsanto's now coming out with a whole, and barium, they're coming out with a whole line of now aluminum-resistant crops so that you have to buy for Monsanto, and it's the same thing. They're poisoning our...
What about the spraying? What about the chemtrail stuff of spraying barium to kill our food?
Totally true.
Get rid of our food.
Give us your view on chemtrails, geoengineering.
Well, it's just they're poisoning us and our food, and it's all about that. It's all about that. So like I say, it's the exact same people that are, getting all the power into their hands, all the power for food. Next is privatizing water. I imagine they'll do air after that. I mean, if we don't stand up now and do something together and find a way to agree with people, instead of we can't 100% agree, and this is me and you, Alex, we can't 100% agree with everything that each of us believes, but we can 75% agree, and we'd better do it. We'd better find a way for Tea Partiers and liberals and lefties and whoever. We better come up with a solution and all get together and use it.
Well, expanding on your cyborg comment, just like they want to take over the biosphere and make us dependent on them for food, they admit they want to make us so sick that then only super technologies can keep us alive. Patenting.
You know why? But also because of peasant insurance, because bosses take out insurance on their workers and then they can poison them and get a payoff when they die. People really ought to take a look at how the insurance companies work, to help steal everything from communities in this country, too.
Wow, you know, it did come out that Walmart and others, you think they're hiring that elderly person as a greeter because they care about them, and people say, how sweet. They have actuaries where they hire the most old and most sick. They know statistically when they're going to die.
That's right, and then they get a payoff. And that's exactly why I'm talking about, you know, Roseanne, because of the fact that my generation of baby boomer women, we are the guinea pigs for all of those crazy experiments, and now our daughters too, with, you know, those Rick Perry forced wart, what do you call them, injections?
Yeah, Gardasil. That was my final question.
They are just using my generation of women as guinea pigs to try to figure out different ways of killing us because they're psychopaths, and then they get a payoff every time one of us dies. They get a payoff.
Well, Roseanne, you're absolutely right, and we have the documents where they put the cancer viruses and the polio shots. They're still doing it. Rick Perry lying and saying it's the law to take the shot when it doesn't even protect you. Guaranteed Rick Perry will hear about this. What's your message to Rick Perry?
My message is to everyone in power, with very few exceptions. I mean, there's some people, it's a big F you.
Well, I figured that it was part serious, part satire, what was on Max Kaiser. So before I really went after...
I really think that there are people who deserve to, you know, they deserve the ultimate punishment because they're so horrible and so hideous, and sitting there living the way they do, taking those payoffs from people, from, like, making people sick. I mean, you don't think that they deserve that?
No, but I'm just saying the way you talked about it in the cover of the book and the way the media spun it, that's why I wanted to have you here. But
Alex, do you agree with me that, like, there should be the ultimate, that these people who are that horrible, that they do deserve just exactly what I said?
Yes. Yeah. Bayer Pharmaceutical was convicted in France, didn't get in trouble anywhere else.
Nazis.
Knowingly, they actually were Nazis, shipping out blood tainted with HIV and hepatitis.
You don't think that those people deserve the guillotine?
No, I think they should, after a jury of their peers, they should be hauled up and then they should be sent to prison. They should be executed.
Well, we totally agree then, and I'm talking about the guilty, the worst of the guilty.
Yeah, but I don't think we re-educate them. You can't re-educate somebody that knows for a decade they're shipping out blood that is a death sentence to little hemophiliacs. I mean, their memos went public. They did it on purpose, and the people that did that should be given the death penalty. Of course they should die.
Well, then we totally agree, don't we?
I mean, you can't let vampires like that run around in the light of day. You got to put.
I do call them vampires. I definitely do, and I say the good thing about vampires is that light. The more light we can bring, the faster they die off.
Well, look, the media did take out of context what you said, and I wanted to find, because I'd seen some things you'd said I agreed with over the years, some that I didn't. I wanted to find out really what you wanted to say. And I really appreciate, Roseanne, you coming on the show, and hopefully we can have you back up from time to time.
I love it. I love talking to you more, and thanks a lot for having me.
Roseanne,
nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. There goes Roseanne Barr. Wow, that was amazing. And coming up in a moment, we're going to have Freeway Ricky Ross on with us. Wow. So a listener to the show. And obviously we agree with a lot of things she has to say. We disagree with some, but... that was satire with Max Kaiser, the re-education camp stuff, the people dressed up in Mao outfits. I figured that was satire. We'll be going into the fourth hour today with Freeway Ricky Ross, if he can do it. And it's fortuitous that Ricky's on right now because they're trying to put him back in jail for going around and doing radio interviews. He's been told, don't do radio interviews anymore. Don't be politically involved. Don't talk about CIA drug dealing. Don't try to put community organizations together, or we're going to spin that and put you back in prison. So he's facing that after decades in prison. He was the biggest narcotics trafficker in West Coast history. And Gary Webb's Pulitzer Prize-winning piece, Dark Alliance Exposed, it was for the CIA. And, of course, Gary then was planning to come on my show soon. He had his new book coming out. And they shot him twice in the head and killed him, and it was ruled a suicide. And now Ricky joins us as a free man for now, and along with documentary filmmaker, Showtime film producer of American Drug War that I consulted on, Kevin Booth. And I appreciate Kevin contacting me to let me know this was going on so we could get Ricky on. Ricky, we appreciate you having the courage to come on this radio show today.
Alex, you give me the courage. When I see people like you do what you do, it gives me the courage to stand up and do what I know that I'm supposed to do.
Well, you do have a lot of courage, and I'm not going to sit here and judge you for a man who, saw prohibition of narcotics as a way to make hundreds of millions of dollars. As a young person, you've admitted it was wrong today, but the larger crime is the people that made them illegal to create the giant black market. Now, here you are all these years later. Geraldo Rivera goes to Iraq. They admit the troops are growing the opium, giving them the fertilizer, and shipping it out. Now, they can't hide it. They just admit it. They now admit Sinaloa cartel on the U.S.-Mexico border ships in tens of tons a month for 5 years, totally authorized, and then the ATF ships them guns. Goes back before Obama. They're not getting in trouble. But we're told you're the bad man, and now they're trying to throw you back in the slammer. Tell us what's happening with you, and recap for folks that don't know who you are, your story, sir.
Well, I grew up in South Central. I was illiterate, was trying to do the right things, just looking for an opportunity. When I was coming up, jobs were rare. Reagan had cut out all the programs that had once existed in my community that my brother had the privilege of getting. So there was no job. So basically what I was doing is just walking around the neighborhood looking for an opportunity. And I went to a guy, and he happened to be a drug dealer. And he told me, what his plan was for me to make money. And I bit into it, and next thing you know, I'm making millions and millions of dollars, sometimes $3 million in one day. And, I got hooked on it. I didn't know at the time the dangers of drugs. I had never seen anybody hooked on crack. That was the beginning of the crack era. So I was pretty naive to what was going on. But
that was before the crack zombies. But just to be clear, I've read news reports that it was upwards of 40 or 50 million a day. You're talking about the raw value, but is that incorrect? What I've read in Esquire and places that you were bringing in 40, 50 million sometimes a day.
Well, this is what I took in. Now, when the people who I sold it to take it and break it down, it accumulates value.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah, so what happened is that I just got involved. 19 years old when I started, basically looking for an opportunity, and that was the first opportunity that I saw that was valuable for me, and I took that opportunity. I eventually got arrested. The guy that I was getting my drugs from set me up, called me for a buy. I go to the buy, and it's a setup. I wind up going to prison. I wind up doing a total of 20 years in prison. I had a life sentence. I wasn't supposed to be released out of prison. But I wind up winning my appeal. I got released. Now that I'm out, I learned my lesson of the heels of the drug war, of prohibition. And while I was in custody, we're going to trial. The guy who introduced me to drugs testified against me. And then we found out that he was working for not only the DEA, but also the CIA. So he basically didn't do any time in jail. He got caught with, I think, 10 tons of cocaine or something like that there. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but much, much larger than mine, because he sold not only to me, but other guys in other parts of the country as well. So when Gary broke the story and I found out everything that was going on, and then later on the CIA admits that they knew these guys were selling drugs, but they didn't authorize it, I'm like, wow, Rick, maybe you have been duped, because I felt I was a rebel. I thought that I was going against the government because I felt that the government had been holding me from other good things in life that they wouldn't let me enjoy. So I said, well, maybe this is just one of the things that they're trying to keep away from. Well, after I went to jail, and I said, you know what, man, you got to change your thinking. There's so many young black guys up in here that got caught up in this crack epidemic that, you got to stop this. You influence these guys to sell drugs, so now you got to influence these guys.
And for those that don't know the whole story, you've now been out while you were in, but now while you're out, preaching against drug use and things like that, saying it's not cool, and now they're wanting to throw you back in jail.
Absolutely.
I guess they don't like you cutting in on their profits.
Well, that's what it looks like. That these people, they don't want me talking to kids. One of the things that I'm going to court this week is they saying that the message that I'm preaching is the wrong message. That that I'm encouraging kids to sell drugs. When I tell them, you know, you sell drugs, you're going to do 20 years in prison and you may get a life sentence. They say that that's the wrong message. They don't want that message out. So this is his way of silencing me. By putting me
That's how they spin it. They say, you're telling kids it's horrible, don't do it. You're killing your people, because I've seen the videos online. Don't ever use them. Stay away from it. Believe it from me. Drug dealers shouldn't be your icons. And the government's saying that teaches them to use drugs. Don't do it. No, they want those little black kids and others in there. They want them on the crack.